Hi, so we're here with John Carse. John is Chief Information and Security Officer at Rakuten Mobile and Rakuten Symphony. Great to see you, John. So I know you've come from outside of telecom. Give us your view on the state of security in 5G networks, mobile networks, and OpenRAN.
My background, as you said, was outside of telecom. I've been with Rakuten Mobile about 3 years. Before then, I was working with the military for almost 12 years, big finance and big tech. So my perspective is a little bit different about, hey, how do we protect networks in telecom space? It's definitely a different point of view. What I've seen in telecom is a real focus on consensus and committees and 3GPP, and I think they've done an incredible job around how do we secure mobile communications for our users and such, and identify new use cases for telecom products. However, I think there's a big gap in how do we as an industry address the cloud technologies that we're introducing in 5G, and how do we protect the workloads that are there.
So you bring in the cloud. I mean, I guess that's these technologies have been around quite a long time, but the actual deployment in production in telecom is, relatively new.
Yes.
Quite a few challenges of matching the application to the infrastructure, and that's been a difficulty. Is that where the security problems are coming from, or is it?
I think it's the security problems are coming because you have a lot of different influences in the vendor space, right? And so as an operator, we're having to make decisions on how do we get what we need and how do we support it. But if we go to every vendor, then it breeds a lot of complexity into our ecosystems, right? That we then have to manage, which makes it expensive for it to operate. One of the benefits that I have at Rakuten Mobile is that we have a single platform, and we insist on vendors participating in our containerized environments, right? So as we go to deploy it, I have a simpler time to kind of manage all of those technologies.
Yeah, and all these things that we hear about, there's problems with visibility into container interfaces, into application performance. How do you resolve these? I mean, I guess in other sectors, other industries, they've got the same challenges.
Yeah, I actually think it's easier to have visibility inside a containerized environment. I mean, fundamentally, a container is an application that's running right there on the network. So we can use technology like eBPPF so that we can have full visibility on what's going on.
Yeah, I guess the first job of a telecom operator is to stay up and available.
Absolutely.
As with it's a wholesale transition to cloud platforms, I guess. You think we're going to meet or beat the availability stats?
I absolutely believe I think we're beating availability stats at Rakuten Mobile already, with a lot of auto healing that we're introduced with some of our how we manage our workloads and such in our containerized environments.
Yeah. Other thing I wanted to talk to you about. I mean, people talk about security as one thing, one moment in time, but actually in practice, and if you look at many of the government agency reports and these kind of things, the challenge is security over time, whether that's because one supplier in the system makes an update, one vulnerability is found here. What can you do to kind of maintain security on a consistent basis, not over a few months, but really we're talking over years for the life cycles here?
Absolutely, it's a multi-year problem. A lot of times when we're talking about rolling out software or rolling out capabilities, whether it's a new radio somewhere or a new core or whatever it is, we often try to get to the point where we deliver the capability. But that's where your security by design, understanding your supply chain, how you got there is really good. You can be completely vulnerability free on day zero when you introduce it. However, the next week, vulnerabilities are identified. So how do you manage those vulnerabilities over time? As a strategy, we need to start moving to runtime detection. You always need to do continuous monitoring because you need to know what your security posture is, because your security posture changes every week, every month, every quarter. And now, how do you manage this into your runtime, and how do you monitor it? So from my perspective, it's more important for us to be able to detect anomalies on our networks quickly and respond to them effectively. And again, with containerized workloads, we can kill anything that might have become compromised or exploited, and then remove that from the environment, and then reload those applications kind of real time, so that from a user perspective, they don't see any kind of availability problems.
Yeah, okay, good stuff. So I wanted to also then to close about talking about collaboration and community in security, things like threat sharing, for example, in telecom, but also I mean, a little bit how can Rakuten help? How can people kind of get in touch with you and learn from you and share with you their learnings and.
Right. So I think from a threat sharing perspective, we are involved with many ISACs through both our Rakuten Mobile relationships in Japan and the MNOs that are also in Japan. But we also have other threat sharing. We do have a CCERT. We are a member of FIRST, which is a organization that many CCERTs belong to, and that is a way for us to transfer information between us and other industries, including telecom industry. With respect to collaboration, I think that Rakuten want to help. We want to help folks, or we want to help other operators get the benefits out of OpenRAN and cloud technologies. So we are open to talk to anybody about any kind of journey that they're on, and help them in any way we can.
Sure, that's a great offer. I mean, I think there's a ton of area around best practice and all of that people would be really interested in. John from Rakuten, thanks very much.
Thanks much. Thanks, good.